place I've never been to before. And I'm just going to dig it out of here. There's actually a lot of chicken here. I doubt if I can even eat all this. But when I got there, actually, first of all, I got a shout out. I'm going to do a shout out real quick because I'm liable to forget if I don't do it now. Mark Grunman from London. Mark Grunman from across the pond in London. A big shout out to you, Mark. And a big shout out to all of you as well. You know, I got the most amazing viewers in the world. I really do. You people are always so good to me. You're so thoughtful. You're so supportive of my channel. And you're always asking how Linda's doing. And lately you're asking about my dog. And I appreciate that. So a big shout to Mark Grumman and to all of you as well, okay? So I got some chicken. I just want to take a bite here. Now the name of this place is Chick to Sea. You know, chicken to seafood. That's many of their thing. That's what they deal in. Now, the building they're in was occupied by KFC for about years and years. Because I moved to the island in 1974, and KFC was already in that building. And it looked like the type of building KFC would have built back in the day, you know. So I think KFC probably had that building built for them. And KFC was in there up until about maybe 10 years ago or less. This is very good chicken. It's hot. And they moved out because they have 2 other locations already. And I think the reason they moved out, I'm only speculating, is the social element down that area. You know, it's really declined. You know, it's not very appealing to a lot of people. But KFC moved out, and a Mexican restaurant moved in called Baby Salsa, and it wasn't long they had a second location. But then after a couple of years, they moved out of that building too. As far as I know, they just have the one other location, which does very well. I did a quesadilla video, and I got that quesadilla from that Baby Salsa. It's very good. Now this particular franchise that's in there now, I'm assuming it's a franchise. They've been there a few years. Not that long, because the building was vacant for a while. And I thought I wanted to try their chicken before they move out or fold up or whatever. Now, when I got there, they had a drive-through. The speaker wasn't working. I got there just almost right after they opened, within a few minutes after they opened. So you have to drive to the window and place your order. And the guy said it'd be about 20 minutes. I thought, 20 minutes? In the world of fast food, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's unacceptable. But because I wanted to try that chicken, I said, okay. Now, I realized I went to a restaurant for Stoughton's. And you get there, it may take them a while to fire up the deep fryers, but they just have all that going already. Making somebody wait 20 minutes is ridiculous, but I have to admit, this is good chicken. Now, recently, one of my viewers suggested I do a video about a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends who've come and gone over the years. Because I've talked about different friends, like, my friend John and Brian and all them. And this person thought it'd be a good idea to make a video about, my relationship with these people and where are they now and how long have I known them and this kind of thing. So I thought it's a good idea. That skin is amazing. Really good. Good chicken. Now I'm going to profile 7 of my best friends over the years. Now, I've been blessed to have a lot of friends. Not so much now, but when I was growing up, not so much now because a lot of these people have passed away, or they've moved away, or gone a different direction. People's lives change, and so anyway, my very first friend. I'll refresh your memory. His name was Jimmy, but I'll refresh your memory. Most of you know, if you've been watching my channel, that I spent the first 5 years of my life in a small hamlet, 7 miles this side of the Montana border. I lived there. There's only a few families. And the one young kid was a year older than me. His name was Jimmy. And Jimmy was my first playmate. There were a few other kids that lived there. There was Robbie and Ronnie. They were brothers. They had the same last name as Jimmy, but they were not related. And there was also Garth and Glenn. They were brothers as well. But Jimmy was my friend, my playmate, the one they always hung out with. We both had little red wagons. We used to push them down the gravel road. Jimmy had some gopher traps. I used to watch him set his gopher traps. Him and I were inseparable the whole time I lived there now. Of course, I moved away just before I turned 5. But I still remember Jimmy very well. And of course, we were probably only real friends for maybe a couple of years. Then I moved to the big city of Saskatoon. The last time I saw Jimmy was in 1968. I remember it was 1968 because my dad had bought a brand new 1968 Galaxy. A Ford Galaxy with a vinyl top. And Jimmy's dad wanted to look at it. Now, that was the last time I saw Jimmy because the very few times I went back there after that, he was never there. I remember in 1993, my ex-wife and my kids and my sister and her kids, we drove back there in a van. I recently made a video about that. My son and I got beaver fever. But we stopped in Buffalo Gap and Jimmy was not there. He was away working. But he still lived there. His parents, Raymond and Irene, were there. They've since passed away. Jimmy had one sister pass away not too long ago, and his younger brother passed away. So when Linda and I drove across Canada in 2015, we stopped there and we slept overnight in our camper. Jimmy wasn't there, but his wife was, Debbie. They're the only ones that live there. Just those two. And the night we got there, she was by herself, just her and her dog. Jimmy's lived there all this time. He's never moved away. Living in the same house. Linda and I were thinking about how creepy it was. Living in a small little hamlet where all the old houses are still there, but they're all boarded up, and you're the only person there. It'd be kind of weird. he's still alive and still lives there. Now when I moved to Saskatoon, I just turned 5. One day I'm riding my tricycle. Down the sidewalk and I see a couple kids playing. The one kid I thought was a girl, because it had been raining. It had this sort of mac over top, like this rain gear. Every time I went by, he said hi. I thought he was very friendly. Turned out it wasn't a little girl, it was a boy. His name was Richard. Now I could do a 25-hour video just on Richard alone, because he was my best friend. I recently did a video about Richard as well, where I took the train back to Windsor, Ontario to visit him. So Richard and I got to know each other. We became not only fast friends, but inseparable. We were always together. Had the same interests. A lot of our friends said we kind of looked the same. We both grew our hair long. We both had pimply faces and wore jean jackets and did everything together. Smoked our first cigarettes together. Stole candy from the local candy store and all that stuff. We loved the Beatles. Played in a band together. Did everything. Went camping and hitchhiked and everything. Now, like I said, I had a lot of friends, so I'm probably going to do a part 2 video. But right now I'm focusing on the friends that were like my best friends for a certain amount of time. The ones that I always gave top priority to, that sort of thing, you know. You know, like your best buddy, right? You know, your bestie. Now, Richard, you know, we delivered newspapers together, rode our bikes together. We were in Cub Scouts together. This chicken is very crunchy. I'm thinking the reason he gave me 2 big pieces was because I had to wait so long. So anyways, Richard and I were joined at the hip. And of course he moved away in the fall of '73. He left Saskatoon for Windsor, Ontario. Less than a year later, I left Saskatoon for Vancouver Island, where I've been ever since. Now, Richard and I smoke pot together. I have to do a video on that sometime. Of course, it'll shadow my wholesome image, but but Richard was probably more personal than me. We worked together in my parents' store. Like I said, we delivered newspapers. We just did everything together, always together, dressed the same. But he was better looking, more personable. He attracted the attention of women easier than I did. His thing was he liked using big words. He told me once that every big word he knows he uses. And it was just kind of something he did. He wasn't trying to sound smart. It was just, I think he liked the sound of big words, you know. And if he learned a big word, he would always use it in his vocabulary at some point. Slippery. Richard moved from Windsor to Saskatoon. I went back to visit him one time in Saskatoon. That's another video I'm going to do. That was in 1980. I'm going to be doing a video on that. Then he moved out to Vancouver. Then back to Saskatoon. Then back to Vancouver. You do that every few years. Vancouver could be a tough place to live because it's more expensive than Saskatoon. But the climate's much nicer out here. Plus, he was playing in a band. I think there's more opportunities out here for that. So, when he was in Vancouver, I'd go over and visit him. He'd come over here and visit me. He surprised me on my, what birthday was that? My 33rd birthday, I think. It was in 1990. Yeah, my 33rd birthday. My ex set it all up. And he came over and surprised me with a visit. So anyways, we'd see each other occasionally, not as much as we used to, but we always stayed in touch. And then in 2008, I found myself separated on my own for the first time in years. And I decided to go back to school, get some education in a different field, just as a precaution, you know. And one day, I get an email from Richard. It says, I know you haven't heard from me for a while, but I've been battling lung cancer. And he said he was diagnosed. But he said, don't worry, Mark, I'm going to beat it. I know when I used to phone him, I would hear him talking, then I'd hear him stop and take a, and I'd say, are you smoking? He goes, yeah. That was the day he quit. He smoked his last cigarette that day. Unfortunately, Richard lost his battle. 2009, just before I was going back to school, he passed away. And I have another story to tell you about that, dude. That's going to blow your mind. That'll be for another video. But Richard was one friend I'll never forget. Because he was a childhood friend for years. I always had visions of him and I sitting on a porch swing when we were like 80 or 90 and saying, "Hey Richard, do you remember?" And he'd go, "What?" You know. Unfortunately, he died about a month before his 52nd birthday. So anyways, when I moved to the island, I moved to the island in 74. Of course, Richard and I were still very good friends, but of course I started making other friends. And Marcel was a young French-Canadian guy. I mentioned him in a video as well. He was just a lovely young man. We got along great, had a lot of fun. He was only in my life for maybe about a year. Or less. But he made such a huge impact. He was such a good friend. We had so much fun. Really had a lot of fun. He was living in a foster situation. And we had very different backgrounds. We looked so different. But we were such good friends. Very good friends. One day, he just moved back east. His foster parents put him on a bus and he was gone. I saw him once after that. A couple years later, he looked the same. But I haven't seen him since. Now his foster brother Brian was another really good friend. Brian was 3 years younger than me, but light years ahead of me in so many things. He was brilliant. He used to frustrate me because if I was doing something, let's say I bought a camera and I'd be trying to figure out exposures. He'd pick up that camera, take the most amazing pictures, you know. I remember when I was plugging around the guitar, you know, he picks up his brother's guitar, and within about 3 months, the guy was just like Stevie Ray Vaughan. It was unbelievable. Even better than his brother. He was the one that inspired me to get into cooking. Lovely man. We briefly went into business together with a delivery moving business. I was 21, he was 18. He catered my wedding, actually. But then, of course, over time, you know, people move around, you lose track. We stayed in touch for a long time, had a lot of fun, a lot of good times. But then he moved back east, and he had a heart attack while shoveling snow and passed away at the age of 36 in 1996. So that was unfortunate. Great guy, really good guy. Now another friend was BERT. BERT was somebody I knew in Saskatoon. He moved out here and I ran into him in the bar one night. At that point, I think I was about 19. I'd been on here for a couple of years. Bert and I lived together in his house. He had a lot of people living there actually, but we used to play music together and had a lot of fun, did all kinds of stuff. Went and saw Bob Dylan together and Bruce Springsteen. I forgot to mention that Marcel and I went and saw Pink Floyd on my 18th birthday. Forgot to mention that. But getting back to Bert. Bert was somebody I knew in Saskatoon. I just got to know him even better out here. We spent a lot of time together. He was a funny guy, very funny guy. He was one of those type of people that could make friends anywhere. Didn't matter where he went. Within 5 minutes, he was talking to somebody, making friends. Not always the right friends, but nonetheless. Very quick-witted. Very quick-witted. He got in trouble with the Hells Angels because he owed them some money, so he left town back in '85. I never saw him after that. I heard he moved back to the island here in a different town. He phoned me a couple of nights and he was just really, really hammered both times. I didn't understand a word he was saying. And actually the last time he phoned me was when my friend Richard was passing away, when he was dying. Richard was really sick. And Bert knew Richard as well. We all knew each other. And that was the last time I heard from him. Oops. Oh my. Dropped my food everywhere. At the same time that I was living at Bert's place, I met a guy there named Brett. Brett and I became very good friends. Brett was 3 years older than me. Very good guy. We had a lot of fun together. We spent a lot of time together. Funny guy. He drove cab, then he became a house painter. He did the funniest things. One night he had to drive his cab all the way down to Victoria. And that's like an hour and a half, so when he got hired to do that, I guess some guy wanted him to drive to Victoria. He was some fisherman, just got off the boat and had lots of money. Brett said, sure, an easy fare, make lots of money. Basically called it a night after that. So they drive down there and the guy whips out a bottle. Next thing you know, they're drinking. Brett liked his booze. I admit that, he liked his booze. So they're having a few belts on the way down. And no, they shouldn't have been drinking or driving. Or Brett shouldn't have been. Anyways, they get to Victoria. Brett drops the guy off somewhere down by the ocean. Brett drives down there, wants to turn his car around on the beach. Not sure why, but he gets stuck in the sand. And the tide's coming in. He's afraid the cops are going to bust him. He's afraid the cops come along, bust him for drinking and driving. So he had those little tiny bars that Soapy gave from a hotel. He started gnawing on one of those. What an idiot. I can't remember what happened after that, but he was a wonderful man. I used to run into him occasionally at the store. And then I didn't see him for a long time, so in 2014, I phoned him up. I got together, had a coffee. I got caught up. He still looked the same, but So it was great to see him again. The fall of 2019. I ran into a friend at the hardware store, and she says, you and Brett were good friends, right? And I said, of course. She said, did you hear that he passed away? I said, no, I didn't know that. He had passed away from liver cancer at 65. So, he was going to have a celebration of life ceremony. I was going to go, but then it got postponed because we got this major snowfall. So, it was postponed until January. Well, January, Linda and I were off to Costa Rica, so I couldn't attend his celebration of life, unfortunately. So that was Brett. He's one guy I still think about a lot. Now, I had also met a guy named Kelly. Kelly and I were very different. I first met Kelly in the early 80s. There was a very good friend of mine named Danny. Danny and I worked together at a logging camp. Got to know each other. Our birthdays were the same day, and you'll probably be in my part 2 video. But Kelly was a guy who worked at the local mill and had lots of money. No kids, had a girlfriend. Well, he had a lot of girlfriends. He was a nice looking man. He played guitar. He used to come over all the time. We'd had my recording studio. You know, we'd record music and jam, and we played in a band together. Had a lot of fun. He was at my house every day. Every day. He had other friends too, but him and I were like, we were best buddies there for quite a while. And then shortly after I got married, we had our first child in 1985. That kind of changed things because he couldn't just drop in anymore because the baby would be sleeping, and we couldn't play music anymore. He eventually got married himself, eventually had kids, but we started kind of drifting apart, you know. But we were very, very good friends. But I think he had a hard time relating to me because once I became a dad, that took top priority. You know, and he couldn't just come over and smoke a doobie and play loud music in the basement anymore. I ran into him once at the grocery store a number of years ago. Almost didn't recognize him. Actually, I ran into him twice, both times at the grocery store. And his wife, Linda, her and I used to work at the restaurant together. She was a waitress, I was a cook. Years ago, back in the early 80s, 82, whatever. And as far as I know, they're still together. I ran into her a couple times. And then, of course, that brings me to my main buddy, John. John and I met in 1987. He came to work at the facility that I worked at. We didn't hit it off right away. No, but eventually we became quite close, started talking. John's a very witty guy, very funny. I've never known anybody be quite as witty as him. He's very sharp. Well, Bert was pretty witty too. But very funny. He could really put you in your place with his wit. But very funny. And we just became really good friends. I was already married with kids, and he got married and he had some kids, and we just started hanging out together more and more. He's still my best friend. I don't have a lot of friends friends anymore because, like I said, a lot of them passed away or moved away, or as you get older, things change. I mean, like even with John, he always wanted to go out to years ago. He always wanted to go to the Peeler Bar and watch some strippers and stuff. I did that a few times. But no, we're very good friends. I'm always there for him. He's always here for me. Very supportive. Great guy to work with. We're meeting up for lunch again next week. He just started a new job there. He was self-employed as a painter there for a long, long time. And he's got a more steady job now. Plus, he still does his painting thing. And he just bought himself a place. And I mentioned that in one of my videos too, but no, John's my main man. We've been friends since 1987, so I'm sure we'll stay friends. But he's recently separated as of 2021, so like I said, I was there for him, and it's always good to have somebody that you can rely on, and that'll be there for you. So anyways, yeah, John's my main buddy. He's a good guy. So there's my dear friends, my friends video. Yeah. So that idea was inspired by one of my viewers. Now, when you people give me ideas, I always write them down in a book. Doesn't mean I'll use them, but I do write them down. A lot of you have asked for a cookie video, and so I'm going to be doing a cookie video. I've had a lot of requests to do a video. I just sit and eat cookies and talk about them, and a few people want me to read the ingredients. I'll have to get my magnifying glass out for that, and don't expect me to pronounce a lot of those words, but I'll certainly do my best, okay? So you take care, stay awesome out there in the land of amazing. We'll see you next time. If you want a shout out, hit me up. And just remember, I always answer my comments, or I try to. May take me a while, may take me a few days. My videos have been a little bit less frequent lately because we were dealing with the dog and stuff like that. But I'm going to start getting them out again twice a week real quick, okay? Usually Tuesdays and Fridays, that sort of thing, okay? So you look after yourselves. Thanks for tuning in. I love you all. You are the best people for my channel. You really are. I love you all. You take care, and we'll see you next time, okay? Bye now.